On Saturday afternoon. It's like 5 o'clock. I'm only going for like 5-10 minutes here, but Larry Brooks of the New York Post reporting Gerard Gallant and the Rangers have agreed to part ways at 5 something in the afternoon on a Saturday. I figured we would probably end up here. I know during the course of the week, I thought that maybe they would end up sticking around. Gallant would end up sticking around and have a really short leash going into next year, but it I'm very, 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 very upset because more than likely this means the Rangers got some permission from, I want to say, the NHL to hire at least talk to John Quinville to be the Rangers' new head coach, and I have negative interest in seeing Joe Quinville behind the Rangers bench. His role in what happened to Kyle Beach in 2010 should disqualify him from a role in any any line of work. To be a coach in the NHL is a privilege. I really hope this isn't to hire Joe Quidville. I'm not even into talking about the hockey aspect of it here. I think the Rangers have been so reactionary in so many of their decisions over the last couple of years because the owner's taken more of an active role in the presence of hockey. And yeah, I that ping was somebody texting me seeing if I had seen that Gerard Gallant got fired. So yeah, sorry about that. I'm very, very worried. Um, the Rangers have really kind of played this out just about as poorly as you could going into it. I wrote about this during the week. A lot of people seem to agree with me. The Rangers really rushed things along too much. After that 2021 season, the 56-game season where the Rangers missed the playoffs, Quinn, Gorton, and Davidson all got fired. They brought in Drury and Gallant, and the expectation was to make the playoffs, and Gallant did that. Like I said in the article, and something I'm working on still that I haven't published yet, but probably go out on Monday before the regular live episode. I feel Gallant is going to end. Gallant did end up getting the short end of the stick that someone had to pay for the way this season went. The Rangers touted themselves as Stanley Cup contenders. All the marketing, you saw that stupid T-shirt that somebody made in Canva, and the Rangers were selling for $50. You saw what that shirt looked like. The Rangers were talking about this like they were going to go all the way, like they were one of the best teams ever assembled, and they fizzled out in 7 games. They got shut out twice. So I get it. Somebody had to go, and this isn't me like praising Gerard Gallant. I think Gallant at best is an average NHL coach, which is not saying a lot. There's like 6 good coaches in the entire NHL, and then all the rest are interchangeable. But Gallant having to wear this tells me that the Rangers are going to do something drastic. I think that drastic measure will end up being Quinville, who hasn't coached in a season and a half. He had to be told to resign. You saw it in Larry Brooks's column the other day that Joe Quinville had done rehabilitation, whatever the fuck that means. I don't know how, as a 50-year-old man, you could hear about one of your coworkers getting one of your players getting sexually assaulted and go, well, it's really hard to make the Western Conference Finals. Let's worry about this after the season. I don't think there's a way to rehabilitate that mindset. If you are at that point in your life, you're 50 something years old. I think Joe Quinville was 51 in 2010 when the Blackhawks won that Stanley Cup. He heard about this and said, well, it's really hard to get this far in the playoffs, and they tabled it, and everybody ended up getting fired, 10 years after the fact for their roles in that situation. And the Rangers' desperation to be legitimized by importing people from other organizations, regardless of the consequences of those actions. I forget what reporter it was. I want to say it was Elliot Friedman on 32 Thoughts, on the Thursday 32 Thoughts, said that the Rangers are an organization that feels like they can do whatever they want, kind of. And you've seen that a little more, especially the last couple of years. You saw it with the statement that they put out saying George Parros should step down, that he's not a good head of Department of Player Safety. You've seen that the last year and a half with the way they've really kind of aggressively tailored this roster, acquiring Patrick Kane, acquiring Tarasenko, and not really being worried about the repercussions, just assuming because they're the Rangers, they'll figure it out. The same thing I said in my column about the young guys, the arrogance to just assume because they're good as amateur prospects that they wouldn't need much, that we're the Rangers, we'll figure it out, don't worry, we're the Rangers. And that's what this stuff with Quenneville, if it comes to be that, is. It's we're the Rangers, you can't tell us what to do, we're better, and we know it. And I think Gerard Gallant, flawed coach. As a coach, flawed. Annoying as hell when it comes to trying to get information. Man would go up there, smile, and lie through his teeth every single day. Not good at talking to the media, not good at communicating. I worry about how good a communicator you are as a coach if you can't complete a coherent thought to the media, but I digress. I really don't want Quenneville, man. Just the stink that follows everything you do if you bring that guy in. And this isn't like alleged. The NHL told him, resign. What you did was wrong. Resign. You are not allowed to be a coach in the NHL. Because Quenneville wanted to stay in Florida. He thought that he didn't do anything wrong, which again, as a 50-year-old, and now Quenneville, I think, is 62, 63, something like that. He didn't think he did anything wrong. So just going to rehab and re-education tells me that he just wanted to get back in the game. Those are lip service things you have to do so you're passable to the other people. And I think the Rangers had this ready to go. I don't think they would have fired Gallant if they were unsure who they wanted to be the next coach. I know that was a recurring theme amongst most of the columns I've read and watched and videos and podcasts I've listened to, where the only way the Rangers were going to dismiss Gallant was if they could get a better coach, to a better coach, a veteran coach, to kind of change, kind of go further than what Gallant has done. I think it was Larry in his column during the week said something to the effect of, sure, they could talk to Joe Quenneville, they could talk to a bunch of other candidates, but they're not just going to fire Gerard Gallant for, a Claude Julien, a Bruce Boudreau, etc. They're only going to fire Gallant if they think they can get their guy. And I think because these are the James Dolan Rangers, I think Quenneville will happen. I'm pretty sure that the Rangers wouldn't have fired Gallant if they didn't think they could get their guy. And you have to remember, if you're going to do an interview process, you got to get permission to talk to guys from other teams. The Rangers could do that. I would love to talk to Andrew Brunette. I would love to talk to some of the assistant coaches from other organizations who've had really nice runs here. I really don't want Joe Quenneville stink on the team. I already had to deal with Patrick Kane stink on the team and feeling shitty about that. And then the vehement cheers that Patrick Kane would get just because he represented the cancel culture that so many people love to bitch about, even though Patrick Kane was never canceled. Patrick Kane got paid $10.5 million to play professional hockey this year. That is not being canceled. That is your reputation taking a slight hit because some people actually care about holding professional athletes and some powerful people accountable for their actions. Oh well. I'm not going to go too much longer because obviously we're going to do the show on Monday. Don't want to get too deep into this, but I'm worried. Okay, I said when the Rangers fired everybody 2 years ago that I'd be worried because Drury was incubated. The Rangers had Drury as the assistant GM. I believe he started in 2015 because that's when Sather retired and Jeff Gorton became the GM and Chris Drury became the assistant GM. I think it might have been 2016. It could have been 2015, whatever. The years, it doesn't matter. Drury bided his time. The Sabres and the Penguins offered Drury their GM jobs at points before Drury eventually became the Rangers GM. He told those teams no. He knew that an opportunity, if it were to arise, would be beneficial for him because he'd been in the organization for an extended period of time. He's got a close relationship with Glenn Sather. Glenn Sather's the GM who brought Drury to the Rangers as a player. Glenn Sather's still kind of lurking around in the background of all of this. Somebody who James Dolan trusts unequivocally. I want to say I expect more, but I don't. I don't. James Dolan is not a good person. He is not a smart person. He's the beneficiary of the genetic lottery. His parents being wealthy is the only reason he owns these teams. And the Knicks, by the way, God, what a fucking disaster. Nobody can hit a goddamn shot. Thibs had those boys out there playing prison rules basketball. It's not great. It's not great. But I want to wrap up with this thought. The Rangers are at, I would say, a roster impasse. They have a core of guys in their late 20s, early 30s, Trocheck, Panarin, Kreider, Zibanejad. And then they've got that next younger group, the Hito, Kako, Lafreniere, Keandre Miller, Adam Fox group. Shesterkin's in the middle of both. If you keep going at it with putting more chips in the middle to try and go further with Panarin, Zibanejad, Kreider, Trocheck, you are robbing the Hito, Kako, Lafreniere, Miller, Fox core of an opportunity to improve the roster down the road. I I have fully put my flag in the opinion that getting Panarin, getting Truba was wrong in 2019. I think with the benefit of hindsight, I think that was always going to lead to this kind of situation. And I started forming this thesis, I'd say 2 years ago, because I went back and read a lot of my stuff for the stuff I've written throughout the last week or so, my older stuff from like 2021 and 2020, just trying to, remember, jog my memory, read what I thought at the time. And I wrote it. The Rangers gave Colin Blackwell more ice time than the first overall pick in the first overall pick's rookie season. Lafreniere was playing 9 minutes a game in 2021. Colin Blackwell has 27 career NHL goals. He scored 12 of them that season because the Rangers were so insistent on raise the floor, no mistakes, low risk veterans. And here we are now, 3 years after Lafreniere's draft year, not sure exactly if he's going to be a good NHL contributor. He's an okay hockey player, but until he starts accumulating counting stats, you're going to be disappointed. He's the first overall pick. So I want to say the Rangers are stuck. They're going to put more chips in on the more chips in on Zibanejad, Panarin, Trocheck, Kreider, Trouba group. They're going to put more chips in. Hiring Joe Quenneville, that is that. Pushing your chips in, telling the NHL, fuck you, we're doing what we want. We don't care about his reputation. We're the Rangers. We can do what we want. It's not a good look for anyone. And that's what irks me about this. The Rangers know this is the wrong thing to do morally and ethically. There is no reason you should be looking at Joe Quenneville for this job. There is zero reason. I understand the disapproval with Gallant. I think Gallant's a pretty mediocre coach myself. You do have to think about how this plays out. So much of the Rangers' issues the last couple of years are rooted in leadership, preparation, identity. This group is apparently pretty fragile because when there are shocks to the system, they cannot recover. I know that everybody talks about the third period comebacks and shit like that, but look what happened in the Devils series, man. The Devils made them bleed once, and that was it. The Rangers, they got up at the count of 8, and then they got knocked out in the next round. That's really all the Rangers did in that first round series. I would like to say things are going to get better. They're probably going to get worse. I'm going to be honest with you. The things are probably going to get worse for the Rangers. Not only are they going to bring in Quenneville, they are going to make at least one stupid trade this summer. I guarantee they are going to make at least one trade this summer that makes the roster worse out of pure stubbornness. Chris Drury, big on the I'm right. He is a big I'm right guy. The way they just threw Buchnevich out of here to get anything tells me he did not understand the value that player has. Point per game player now. The way that as soon as he got that job, Barclay Goodrow, Ryan Reeves, Patrick Nemeth, of the 4 guys they acquired that offseason, the first offseason Drury got the job, I understand part of his mandate was probably, hey, you got to toughen up the team, make it older. So they brought in Reeves, Nemeth, Goodrow, and Blais to kind of be that component of the team. That was really short-sighted. Only one of those guys, Goodrow, is still on the team, and Goodrow is going to be a cap casualty. He is the most likely candidate to get traded this summer because he's getting paid too much, does not produce enough, and he's one of the only veterans with money tied up in him that doesn't have a full no move. He has a limited no move, which makes it a little bit easier to move him. So the Rangers are making bad decisions. They really need James Dolan to forget the Rangers exist. They need Glenn Sather to just disappear. I'm not going to say the other thing. They just need They need Glenn Sather to stop talking to James Dolan. Somebody take away Glenn Sather's phone. They need they I also can't get a read if Drury actually understands the salary cap or not, because more than once they've done things the last 2 seasons that just don't make sense from a salary cap perspective. And that really worries me considering the cap crunch that they're about to be stuck in. Because there's a world, and I'll leave you guys on this. There's a world in which Drury goes, I need to come up with cap space, and rage trades one of Lafreniere or Kako because they didn't perform well. They're not what it means to be a Ranger, whatever. I'm worried, guys. I'm very, very worried. I hope everybody has a good rest of their Saturday. Andrew and I will see you on Monday. Watch Backlash later. Bad